Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating economic idea, one that kind of flips everything you thought you knew completely on its head.
All right, so let's get right into it. Why do our economies go through these wild swings? The exhilarating booms followed by these really painful busts. It's a huge puzzle in economics. But what if we've been looking at the whole thing backwards? We're going to dig into something called the Austrian business cycle theory. And this theory, it completely flips the script. It says the real problem, the real damage, isn't happening during the crash. No, it's happening during that awesome feeling boom that comes right before it.
So how does this whole chain reaction even start? Well, according to this theory, it all kicks off when a really important signal in the economy gets, well, broken.
Okay, so it all starts with this core idea about human nature called time preference. It's pretty simple, actually. It's just how much you value getting something now versus getting it later. If a whole society is saving a ton of money, that means they have a low time preference. They're patient. They're totally cool with waiting for a bigger payoff down the road.
And when you add up everyone's patience, all those real savings in the economy, it creates something called the natural interest rate. You can think of it like an honest, true signal. It's telling businesses, hey, here's how many real resources we've actually got socked away for you to use on big, long-term projects.
But what happens when that honest signal gets messed with? Well, that's where something called credit expansion enters the picture. This is when banks, often with a little nudge from the government, start creating brand new money to lend out, money that isn't backed by anyone's actual real savings.
So this new money, this money that nobody actually saved, it just floods the market for loans. And that creates this massive illusion. The interest rate that you and I see at the bank suddenly drops, right? But it's an artificial low. And entrepreneurs, they see this and they think, wow, this is amazing. People must be saving like crazy. It's the perfect time to launch that huge long-term project I've been dreaming about. But here's the catch. It's a totally false signal. The real savings, the actual resources, they just aren't there to back it all up. So what happens next? Entrepreneurs, acting on that totally bogus signal, they start building, they start hiring. This right here is the beginning of the boom. And the crazy part is, it's all built on a massive mistake.
The economist Ludwig von Mises came up with a really great way to think about this. He used this powerful analogy. He said, imagine the entire economy is like one single master builder. And this builder has a very specific, limited pile of materials to work with. Bricks, wood, steel.
And this brings us to a super important distinction, the difference between malinvestment and overinvestment. See, the theory argues the problem isn't just that the builder is investing too much. That's overinvestment. No, the real issue is malinvestment. He's investing in the wrong stuff. He's been tricked by that fake low interest rate into starting a giant sprawling mansion when he only has enough bricks to build a tiny cottage. The entire project is physically impossible to finish from the get-go.
And this isn't just happening with our one builder. Guided by that same false signal, businesses all across the economy are pouring money into these really ambitious, long-term projects. We're talking new factories, complex new technologies, massive infrastructure plans. They're all operating under this mistaken belief that the resources and the public's patience are there to see these things all the way through to the end.
But here's the thing. You can't build a real mansion with imaginary bricks. It just doesn't work. Sooner or later, that boom, which was built on a completely faulty idea, has to slam face first into the hard reality of scarce resources. Just like Mises said, the whole thing is built on shaky ground. It's built on the sand of artificial credit, not the solid rock of real savings. So a collapse isn't just a possibility, it is absolutely inevitable.
And that bust? That's the shocking moment when reality hits. It's when our master builder looks at his half-finished mansion, then down at his tiny, dwindling pile of bricks, and he realizes he's been duped. And what's the first, most logical thing to do? He screams, "Everybody stop!" You have to stop all work right then and there to figure out what the heck went wrong and if anything can be saved from the mess. So this is the key takeaway, right? That sudden stop, the thing we call a recession, it isn't the sickness. It's actually the start of the cure, even though it's a painful one. The economy is finally slamming the brakes on wasting resources. It's taking a hard look at the actual materials it has, and it's starting the difficult process of moving them back toward projects that are actually sustainable and that people really want.
And all of this leads us to the theory's most powerful and, frankly, most counterintuitive conclusion. Think about it. Most conventional views see the boom as the good times, right?
That's prosperity. And the bust is the bad part, the problem we need to fix. But this Austrian view argues the exact opposite. The boom is the sickness. It's a period of widespread mistakes and wasted investment. The bust, the recession, is the economy trying to heal itself.
So from this point of view, the boom is actually a period of incredible waste. It's funneling all this precious capital, all this labor, into projects that are doomed to fail. It's literally making society poorer in the long run. The depression, as awful as it feels while you're in it, is the necessary process of putting those resources back to work in a way that actually lines up with reality.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty provocative question to chew on. If the bust really is the cure, then what are we doing every time we try to fight a recession with more of the same? More credit expansion, more artificially low interest rates? Are we really helping the economy get back on its feet, or are we just pushing our master builder to keep wasting his last few precious bricks on a mansion that can never, ever be finished?